History as we know it is built on shifting sand. 25 archaeological discoveries are systematically dismantling everything we thought was true about our ancient past. By the end of this journey, your understanding of human history will be fundamentally transformed. We will examine a 2,000-year-old computer found in a shipwreck and massive temples that predate agriculture itself. These are not mere anomalies, they are evidence of capabilities we never attributed to our ancestors. What do you believe is the greatest mystery left behind by ancient civilizations? Off the coast of a small Greek island, a team of sponge divers made a discovery that would send shockwaves through the world of archaeology. It was the year 1901, and what they initially pulled from the ancient shipwreck was a lump of corroded bronze and wood, seemingly unremarkable. For decades, it sat in a museum, a curious artifact but not one that drew much attention. Then, researchers took a closer look. They began to carefully clean the object, and as the layers of hardened sea deposit were removed, an astonishing truth was revealed. This was not a simple statue or piece of jewelry. It was a machine, a complex hand-powered device of precisely interlocking bronze gears, housed in a wooden frame. We now know it as the Antikythera Mechanism, and it has been called the world's first analog computer. Dating to around 200 years before the Common Era, this intricate device was a mechanical cosmos. By turning a hand crank, an operator could calculate the movements of the sun, the moon, and the known planets. It could predict lunar and solar eclipses with remarkable accuracy. It even tracked the 4-year cycle of the ancient Olympic Games, a celestial and social calendar all in one. The genius of its design is breathtaking. Dozens of meshing gears, some with fine teeth cut at precise angles, worked together to model the irregular motions of heavenly bodies. It was a physical representation of Greek astronomical knowledge, a universe in a box. For historians like Derek de Solla Price, who dedicated his life to unraveling its secrets, the mechanism was a profound anomaly. This level of mechanical engineering, this understanding of complex gearing, was not supposed to exist in the ancient world. In fact, technology of this sophistication would not be seen again until the rise of elaborate clockwork in Europe more than 1,000 years later. The Antikythera Mechanism stands as a stark challenge to the idea of a simple, linear progression of technology. It forces us to confront a difficult truth that advanced knowledge can be lost, that entire chapters of human ingenuity can vanish into the sea or the sand. If this one device survived by sheer chance, what other mechanical marvels from antiquity were built, used, and ultimately disappeared without a trace? Just a few decades after that shipwreck computer was found, another discovery on a windswept hilltop in Turkey began to unravel an even deeper historical mystery. German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt arrived at a place the locals called Potbelly Hill in 1994, expecting to find little more than a medieval burial ground. What he saw instead were the tops of immense T-shaped limestone pillars poking through the earth, arranged in wide circles. He instantly recognized this was something far older and far stranger. This was Göbekli Tepe. The dates that later emerged from the site were staggering. This monumental complex was constructed around 9,600 years before the Common Era. That makes it older than Stonehenge by about 6,000 years. It predates the invention of the wheel. Most astonishingly, it was built centuries before humans are believed to have developed agriculture and settled into farming villages. This single fact shatters a foundational pillar of traditional archaeology, the long-held theory that organized religion and large-scale architecture could only emerge after farming provided a stable, surplus food supply. Yet here at Göbekli Tepe, bands of hunter-gatherers were apparently coming together to erect a stunningly sophisticated temple. The pillars themselves are monumental, some weighing over 10 tons. They are carved with breathtaking artistry, covered in intricate reliefs of animals. Foxes, snakes, wild boars, and birds of prey seem to crawl and swoop across the stone. The precision of the stonework is masterful, and the layout of the circles suggests their builders possessed a sophisticated understanding of mathematics and even celestial movements, potentially aligning the structures with certain stars. How did these nomadic people without permanent settlements coordinate the labor to quarry, transport, and erect these colossal stones? What belief system was so powerful, so unifying, that it compelled them to create this place? Göbekli Tepe forces a complete rewrite of our understanding of social and spiritual development. It suggests that the human drive to build temples, to create complex belief systems, and to organize around a shared ideology may have actually been the catalyst that led to settled life and agriculture, not the other way around. This site stands as a silent stone question, challenging us to wonder what other grand achievements of pre-agricultural societies are still buried, waiting to be found. In a dusty Italian Jesuit college in 1912, a Polish book dealer named Wilfred Voynich made a purchase that would become one of history's most enduring puzzles. He acquired a small, densely illustrated codex, a manuscript written entirely in a script that no one on Earth could read. This is the Voynich Manuscript, a book that has mocked the efforts of the world's greatest codebreakers for over a century. Carbon dating confirms the vellum pages were created in the early 15th century, a product of the European medieval world, but its contents are from nowhere we recognize. The text flows in an elegant, unknown alphabet with characters and patterns that look like a real language, yet it matches no known tongue. Computational analysis suggests it has a linguistic structure, with words and sentences that follow grammatical rules, but the language itself is a ghost. It is a message with no key, a book that cannot be read. The illustrations deepen the mystery. They depict botanical specimens of plants that do not exist, their leaves and roots unlike anything in the natural world. Astronomical charts show celestial arrangements that do not correspond to any known stars or constellations. Perhaps most strangely, there are intricate drawings of nude women bathing in interconnected tubes and pools filled with a strange green liquid, surrounded by zodiac symbols and fantastical architecture. Was this a secret herbal compendium, recording lost botanical knowledge? A treatise on alchemy or early medicine, its true meaning encrypted to protect powerful secrets? Or, as some have argued, is it an elaborate and meaningless hoax, crafted to deceive a wealthy patron? The very possibility of a hoax from the 1400s is itself a challenge, demanding a level of sophisticated, sustained deception that seems almost as unlikely as the manuscript being real. Top cryptanalysts, including those who broke enemy codes during the Second World War, have applied their formidable skills to this book and walked away utterly baffled. The Voynich Manuscript defies categorization, a stark reminder that the medieval mind was capable of producing works that remain completely opaque to our modern understanding. It stands as a silent testament to the possibility of entire systems of knowledge, entire ways of seeing the world that have been lost to time. If one book can hold such an impenetrable secret, what other forgotten languages and lost sciences are waiting to be rediscovered, hidden in plain sight? While the Voynich Manuscript represents a mystery of the mind, another discovery from the ancient world hints at a mystery of pure physical science. In 1936, inside the dusty storage rooms of the Baghdad Museum, a German archaeologist named Wilhelm Koenig made a peculiar find. He was studying a collection of rather simple-looking artifacts that had been excavated years earlier, unassuming terracotta pots about the size of a man's fist. But their contents were anything but ordinary. Inside each clay jar, a carefully rolled copper cylinder was sealed with asphalt, and within that cylinder sat an iron rod. Koenig looked at this assembly and proposed a radical theory. He believed these objects were not ritual vessels or simple storage containers, but primitive batteries. Dating from the Parthian or Sasanian period, somewhere between 250 years before the Common Era and 650 years after, these artifacts now bear a deceptively simple name, the Baghdad Battery. The principle is straightforward, yet its implications are profound. If the jar was filled with an acidic electrolyte, something as common as vinegar or grape wine, a chemical reaction would occur. The acidic liquid would act as an electrolyte, enabling a flow of electrons between the iron rod and the copper cylinder. This creates a galvanic cell, capable of producing a small but measurable electrical charge, estimated at around 1.5 to 2 volts. Decades after Koenig's theory, a researcher named Willard Gray actually built replicas based on the ancient design. He filled them with an electrolyte, connected them to a voltmeter, and confirmed it. The devices worked. They generated electricity. This confirmation sparks a difficult and fascinating question. What was the purpose of this ancient electricity? The voltage is too low for practical lighting or power, but it has several compelling applications. One leading theory suggests it could have been used for electroplating, the process of depositing a thin layer of one metal onto another. A skilled artisan could have used the current to gild a silver object with a layer of gold, creating beautiful and valuable jewelry. Other possibilities include its use in medical therapy, where the mild tingling sensation was seen as having healing properties, or even in religious ceremonies, where a priest could use the mysterious invisible force to create a sense of awe and divine power. The existence of the Baghdad Battery fundamentally challenges the established timeline of electrical discovery. For centuries, the official history of electricity began with figures like Alessandro Volta and his voltaic pile in the early 1800s. Yet here is tangible evidence that a basic understanding of electrochemistry may have existed in Mesopotamia centuries, even a millennium earlier. This single artifact forces us to reconsider the technological landscape of the ancient world. It suggests that the spark of scientific discovery was struck more than once in human history, and that sometimes that spark was tragically extinguished. If something as fundamental as a battery could be invented, used, and then forgotten for over 1,000 years, what other principles of physics and chemistry were once understood, only to be lost in the sands of time? Buried in the sands of Saqqara in 1898, a small wooden object emerged from the tomb of Piri men that looked at first glance like a simple bird. It was a charming artifact carved from sycamore wood and dated to around 200 years before the Common Era, but for those who looked closer, something was off. This was no ordinary bird. Its wings were not curved or stylized. Instead, they were perfectly straight with a distinct downward-angled dihedral shape that is fundamental to stable flight. And most strikingly, it featured a vertical tailplane, a fin that stood straight up, a feature completely absent in nature but absolutely essential for the stability of any modern aircraft. This is the Saqqara Bird. For decades, it sat in a museum catalogued as a ceremonial falcon or perhaps a child's toy. Then, in 1971, an Egyptian doctor and archaeologist named Khalil Messiha published a paper that ignited a firestorm of controversy. He argued that this was not a bird at all, but a scale model of a monoplane glider. He pointed out that the artifact lacks any legs or feet, and its proportions align not with avian anatomy, but with the principles of aeronautical design. The most compelling evidence came later when aerodynamics experts decided to put the claim to the test. They built accurate replicas of the Saqqara bird and launched them. The results were startling. The model did indeed generate lift and demonstrated remarkable gliding capabilities, especially when a small horizontal stabilizer was added to the tail, a feature that may have been lost over the centuries. So what are we to make of this? Mainstream Egyptology remains deeply skeptical, insisting it is likely a stylized bird of prey, perhaps a weather vane. But the mystery endures. Did an ancient Egyptian artisan, through keen observation of seeds spinning in the wind or birds soaring on thermals, intuitively grasp the basic principles of aerodynamics? Was this a toy, a ritual object, or the physical evidence of a moment of brilliant proto-engineering curiosity? The Saqqara bird forces us to confront the bias of our own perspective. We often interpret the past through the lens of what we know, dismissing anything that does not fit our established narrative as ritual or art. This small wooden object challenges that complacency. It asks us to consider that the spark of invention, the desire to understand and even imitate flight, may have flickered in the human mind long before the Wright brothers ever left the ground. The Saqqara bird suggests a mind reaching for the skies, but a map discovered centuries later hints at a civilization that may have already charted the entire Earth. In 1929, within the dusty archives of Istanbul's majestic Topkapi Palace, a German theologian made a find that would rewrite the history of exploration. He was cataloging old documents when he unfolded a fragment of a world map drawn on gazelle skin. It was the work of the Ottoman admiral and cartographer Piri Reis, dated 1513. The map itself was beautiful, but its content was earth-shattering. It depicted not just the familiar coasts of Europe and Africa, but the eastern coast of South America with a precision that seemed impossible for the time. The map showed details of the Brazilian coast and even the spine of the Andes Mountains, features European explorers of that era could not have accurately known. Yet the most baffling detail lay at the bottom of the fragment. It appeared to show a landmass connected to South America, a northern coastline that was completely free of ice. This land, according to the notations Piri Reis himself wrote on the map, was drawn from much older source maps, some dating back to the time of Alexander the Great. The chilling implication was that this ice-free coastline was Antarctica. The problem is a monumental one. Antarctica has been buried under a mile-thick sheet of ice for at least 6,000 years. How could a 16th-century admiral have access to a map depicting a landscape no human eyes had seen for millennia? This is the core of the Piri Reis mystery. Centuries later, a professor named Charles Hapgood took up the challenge. His analysis concluded that the map's accuracy, particularly in its longitudinal measurements, was far beyond European capabilities of the 1500s. Calculating longitude requires precise timekeeping and astronomical knowledge that was not perfected until the invention of the marine chronometer in the 1700s. Hapgood proposed a radical theory that Piri Reis had indeed copied his work from far more ancient source maps, crafted by a sophisticated, seafaring civilization that had mapped the entire world, including an ice-free Antarctica in a distant, forgotten age. Even modern technology has added fuel to this fire. Satellite radar mapping that can see through the ice cap has revealed the true topography of the Antarctic continent beneath. When these subglacial surveys are compared to the Piri Reis map, the correlations are startling. The general shape of the landmass and the placement of certain features like rivers and mountains seem to align with what is hidden under the ice. Skeptics argue it is merely a lucky guess, or that the landmass is actually a speculative, distorted version of South America itself. But the possibility remains haunting and profound. The Piri Reis Map is not just an old drawing, it is a ghost image of a lost world. It challenges the very timeline of human exploration, forcing us to ask who the great explorers truly were. Could there have been a global civilization, a network of ancient mariners whose knowledge of the planet was so complete that it survived only in scattered fragments, copied and recopied until one landed on the desk of an Ottoman admiral? This single piece of gazelle skin suggests that the age of discovery we celebrate in our history books may have been a rediscovery, a faint echo of a much older and far more advanced understanding of our world. In the dense jungles of Costa Rica during the 1930s, workers for the United Fruit Company were clearing land for banana plantations when their machetes struck something impossibly hard and perfectly round. As they hacked away the thick vegetation, they did not find more jungle but a landscape of stone. Scattered across the Diquis Delta were hundreds of massive spheres, some as small as a baseball, others towering over 2 meters tall and weighing more than 15 tons. These were the mysterious stone spheres of Costa Rica, or petrospheres, and their creation defies simple explanation. Crafted primarily from a hard igneous rock called gabbro, though some were made from limestone or sandstone, these objects are unnervingly perfect. Their sphericity is so precise that for many of the largest examples, the measurements of their diameter vary by less than a centimeter from a true sphere. Their surfaces are unnaturally smooth, polished to a high sheen that has endured for centuries. The primary period of their creation is estimated to be between 300 years before the Common Era and 300 years after, a time when this region was inhabited by the pre-Columbian Diquis culture. But how did a society without metal tools, without the wheel, achieve such geometric perfection? Archaeologists believe the process was agonizingly slow and demanded profound skill. Artisans likely selected large boulders and used other, smaller stones to peck away at the surface, gradually roughing out a spherical shape. Then, through endless hours of grinding with sand and water, they smoothed the surface to its final, breathtaking form. Evidence suggests they may have used a technique of controlled heating, building fires against the stone and then rapidly cooling it with water to cause thin layers to fracture, which could then be ground away. But the how is only half the mystery. The why remains utterly elusive. Some of the spheres were found arranged in complex patterns, lines and triangles and curves, with specific alignments pointing toward celestial events like the solstice sunrises. This suggests they may have been a sophisticated astronomical calendar, a stone observatory for tracking the heavens. Other theories propose they were symbols of power, marking the territories of powerful chiefs, or perhaps they were representations of the sun, the moon, or other celestial bodies, solidifying a cosmic worldview in granite. The mystery only deepens with modern technology. Recent surveys using ground-penetrating radar have revealed that dozens more of these spheres remain buried, hidden just beneath the earth, waiting. This was not a minor artistic whim. It was a central, widespread, and deeply important cultural practice. The sheer effort involved speaks of a society with a complex social structure, one capable of organizing specialized labor for projects that served a purpose we can only guess at. The Costa Rican stone spheres stand as a silent, polished monument to a forgotten technological prowess. They challenge the very image of pre-Columbian Central America, forcing us to see beyond simple villages to a culture with advanced knowledge of astronomy, geometry, and stoneworking on a grand scale. This mastery over stone, this desire to impose perfect geometric forms onto the raw chaos of nature, is a thread that connects to other, even more impossible, ancient constructions. While the Costa Rican spheres demonstrate a mastery of stone, another discovery from the heart of Texas presents a mystery not of craftsmanship but of time itself. In 1936, a couple hiking along the banks of Red Creek near the town of London made a peculiar find. A piece of rock had cracked open, likely due to erosion, and inside was something that should not have been there. Protruding from the ancient stone was the weathered wooden handle of a hammer. When they extracted the object, they found a complete, modern-looking iron hammer head, seemingly forged in a single, solid piece with the stone encasing it like a glove. This is the London hammer. The rock surrounding the tool was immediately identified by geologists as ancient Ordovician limestone, a formation dating to approximately 400 million years ago. To put that into perspective, this rock layer was formed long before dinosaurs ever walked the Earth, in an era when the first primitive plants were just beginning to appear on land. The hammer itself is a paradox. The wooden handle is partially coalified, turned into a substance like coal through a natural process that typically requires immense age and pressure. The iron head is unusually pure, metallurgical analysis revealing it contains almost no slag, the impurities that are a telltale sign of typical historical iron smelting. It appears to have been manufactured using a technique that is both sophisticated and unknown to us. The mainstream scientific explanation is one of a natural concretion process. They propose that a relatively recent hammer, perhaps from the 19th century, was lost and became coated in dissolved limestone minerals. Over time, these minerals hardened around the object, creating a solid rind that only gives the appearance of great antiquity. Yet, this explanation struggles to account for the complete encasement, the partial fossilization of the wood, and the unique composition of the iron. For others, the artifact is a profound anomaly, an out-of-place object that challenges our entire understanding of human history. Could it be evidence of a human civilization existing hundreds of millions of years ago, a notion that defies every fossil record we possess? Or does it point to a flaw in our geological dating methods, suggesting that certain rock formations can harden much more quickly than we currently believe? The London hammer does not offer easy answers. Instead, it stands as a monument to scientific controversy, forcing us to confront the limitations of our own interpretive frameworks. It reminds us that a single, stubborn artifact can disrupt the most comfortable timelines, compelling us to hold our conclusions lightly and maintain a healthy, probing skepticism. This collision of the familiar and the impossibly ancient prepares us for even more startling artifacts that challenge the very bedrock of geological time. The London hammer presents a physical enigma, a tangible object that defies our timelines, but some of the most persistent archaeological challenges are not found in stone or metal, but in stories. High in the remote Bayan Karaula Mountains on the border of China and Tibet, a tale unfolds that straddles the line between discovery and legend. In 1938, a Chinese archaeologist named Kai Pu Te is said to have entered a system of caves and made a bizarre find. He reportedly discovered a series of neat, circular burial sites arranged in rows. Within these graves were skeletons of beings with unusually large, elongated skulls and small, delicate frames, unlike any known human remain. Scattered around these bodies were hundreds of stone discs, each about a foot in diameter with a perfectly circular hole in the center. These were the Dropa Stones. The discs themselves were extraordinary. Carved from a hard granite, they featured a continuous, fine groove spiraling out from the center hole to the rim, a groove that upon closer inspection was allegedly not a decoration, but a line of minuscule hieroglyphic-like characters. The story claims that these inscriptions were eventually deciphered, telling a fantastic and tragic narrative. The text supposedly described a group of beings whose spacecraft crashed in the mountains thousands of years ago. Stranded and unable to repair their ship, these visitors, the Dropa, tried to make peace with the local human tribes but were ultimately hunted down and killed. Their story was etched into these stone records for posterity. The account is compelling, a perfect storm of ancient astronauts and hidden history. Yet, mainstream archaeology universally dismisses the Dropa stones. No credible archaeological records from Kai Pute's expedition have ever been verified. No museum in the world holds a single, authenticated Dropa disc for scholars to study. The entire narrative first surfaced not in academic journals, but in German magazines devoted to UFOs and the paranormal in the 1960s. The stones, if they ever existed, are most likely misidentified Neolithic artifacts, perhaps common stone discs used as spindle whorls for spinning thread, their spiral grooves a natural result of use. The Dropa Stones controversy is a powerful lesson in how archaeology can be captured and reshaped by popular imagination. It illustrates the immense hunger for mysteries that connect our ancient past to cosmic possibilities. This enigmatic tale forces us to ask a difficult but crucial question: where does a legitimate historical mystery end and a modern myth begin? It challenges us to demand verifiable evidence, even as we remain open to the truly unexpected. The story's persistence reminds us that sometimes the most enduring artifact is not an object, but the narrative we build around it. Until the 1920s, the full scope of the Nazca Lines was a secret kept by the desert itself. It was only with the dawn of commercial air travel that passengers looking down from their windows saw the impossible. Etched across the vast, arid plains of southern Peru were enormous figures, geometric shapes, and lines so long and straight they seemed to defy the curvature of the earth. From the ground, these marks were nothing more than shallow grooves, meaningless ditches. But from the sky, a colossal gallery of art was revealed, created by the Nazca culture over a 1,000-year period beginning around 500 years before the Common Era. These geoglyphs number in the hundreds. They include a hummingbird with wings outstretched, a massive spider, a monkey with a spiraling tail, and a humanoid figure often called the astronaut, its head seeming to gaze upward. The scale is almost incomprehensible. Some of the individual straight lines run for over 30 miles, cutting across the landscape with unnerving precision. The animal figures are similarly massive, with many stretching over 1,200 feet long, larger than the Empire State Building laid on its side. How did a people without the ability of flight achieve such perfect proportions and alignments? The engineering suggests a profound understanding of geometry and surveying. Archaeologists believe they used simple yet brilliantly effective techniques. Teams of workers would have carefully planned a design, likely using a small-scale model. They would then drive stakes into the ground and use ropes to map out the enormous outlines. The actual creation of the lines was a process of subtraction. The Nazca desert floor is covered with a layer of dark, oxidized stones. By removing these top stones to a depth of just a few inches, they exposed the lighter, sandy-colored soil beneath. This created a stark visual contrast that has endured for 2 millennia. Their preservation is a miracle of climate. The Nazca Plateau is one of the driest places on Earth, with virtually no rainfall to erode the designs. The wind, rather than scattering the stones, actually helps to stabilize them, its unique patterns pushing the small rocks back into the grooves. But this monumental effort raises the most enduring question: why? Why would a culture invest such immense labor to create art they could never see? One prominent theory suggests the lines were a vast astronomical calendar, with many shapes and lines aligning with the rising and setting sun during solstices, or with specific star constellations. Others propose they were sacred pathways, walked during religious rituals to communicate with deities. A more recent and compelling theory connects the lines to the most precious resource in the desert: water. Geological surveys have shown that many of the largest figures are positioned directly over underground aquifers and fault lines that channel water. Perhaps the Nazca were creating a massive map of their water sources, or performing rituals to appease the gods who controlled the life-giving water. The Nazca Lines are a testament to a civilization that saw its relationship with the cosmos and the earth on a grand, breathtaking scale. They transformed their entire landscape into a canvas, challenging us to understand a worldview where the earthly and the divine were connected by lines drawn in the sand. This ambition to reshape the world itself leads us to other ancient projects of even greater physical audacity. On Easter Sunday 1722, Dutch explorer Jacob Roggeveen became the first European to witness a sight that must have seemed utterly impossible. His ships made landfall on a remote Pacific island, and there, staring back from the coastline, were hundreds of colossal stone giants. These were the Moai of Rapa Nui, their heavy-lidded eyes gazing with silent intensity across the land, their backs turned forever to the sea. Carved by the Rapa Nui people from compressed volcanic ash between 1250 and 1500 of the Common Era, these monolithic figures are a staggering feat of engineering. The largest of them, named Paro, stands over 30 feet tall and weighs an estimated 82 tons. Each one is unique, a portrait of a powerful ancestor, their long ears and prominent chins projecting an aura of immutable authority. For centuries, the greatest puzzle was not just how they were carved, but how they were moved. The main quarry at Rono Roroku is a volcanic crater where nearly half of the Moai remain, frozen in various stages of completion. From this central source, completed statues were transported to ceremonial platforms called who all around the island's coast, a journey of up to 11 miles across rugged terrain. How did a society without wheels or large animals accomplish this? The oral tradition of the islanders themselves held the answer all along. They walked them. Recent experiments have demonstrated that a team of just 18 people, using 3 strong ropes, can literally walk a multi-ton Moai replica upright. By rocking the statue from side to side with coordinated pulls, they could mimic a walking motion, inching the giant forward in a breathtaking display of physics and teamwork. This method aligns with the many Moai found abandoned along ancient roads, toppled face down as if they had fallen mid-stride. The purpose of these immense efforts was deeply spiritual. The Moai were not gods but representations of revered ancestors. By erecting them on the Ahu platforms, communities believed they channeled the ancestors' spiritual power, or mana, to protect and fertilize the land. This spiritual connection was even more elaborate than we once knew. Recent archaeological excavations that have carefully dug around the bases of toppled Moai have revealed a stunning secret: their backs are not blank. Buried for centuries, the reverse sides of these giants are covered in intricate petroglyphs, complex carvings of female turtle gods, and the crescent-shaped canoes of the Maui, a sacred symbol. These hidden artworks suggest that the entire statue was a sacred text, its power facing the people, its story carved into its back for the earth itself to hold. Yet the story of Easter Island is also a profound tragedy. The society that achieved this incredible feat eventually collapsed. The leading theory points to ecological catastrophe, a terrible lesson in resource depletion. As the population grew, the island's lush palm forests were cleared for agriculture and to use as rollers or levers for the statues. Without trees, the soil eroded, crop yields fell, and the islanders could no longer build the seafaring canoes needed for deep-sea fishing. The result was famine, social collapse, and a descent into civil war. The very statues that embodied their power were toppled by the descendants of their creators. The Moai of Easter Island stand as a dual challenge. They force us to recognize the incredible engineering and spiritual sophistication of an isolated Pacific society, capable of projects that would be daunting even today. Simultaneously, they serve as a haunting, stone warning about the consequences of environmental neglect. This drive to move mountains of stone, to shape the very landscape in the name of belief, finds an echo in another corner of the world, where a different civilization attempted to build a mountain of its own. While the Moai of Easter Island stand as monuments to isolation, another lost city reveals the opposite, a hub of ancient maritime power now sleeping beneath the waves. In the early 1980s, marine archaeologists began a systematic survey of the Arabian Sea off the coast of modern Dwarka in Gujarat, India. What they found on the seafloor was not a random scattering of rocks, but the unmistakable layout of a city. Massive stone blocks formed fortified walls and gateways. They uncovered ancient piers and wharves, the infrastructure of a bustling seaport. Scattered among the foundations were anchors, pottery shards, and other artifacts that spoke of daily life. Carbon dating of these materials points to a settlement dating back to approximately 1500 years before the Common Era, with some structures potentially being even older. This was not just any city. For centuries, the ancient Sanskrit texts of India, like the epic Mahabharata, had described a magnificent city called Dwarka, the legendary capital of the god-hero Krishna. The texts recount its splendor, its grandeur, and its ultimate fate, that after Krishna's departure from the world, the entire city was swallowed by the sea, vanishing beneath the waves in a single cataclysmic event. The underwater discovery off the modern coast appears to be a direct, physical echo of that ancient story. The layout of the sunken ruins suggests a highly planned urban settlement, challenging long-held assumptions that ancient Indian civilizations were primarily land-based and agrarian. The presence of a sophisticated seaport with multiple stone anchors indicates a society with advanced maritime capabilities, capable of significant ocean, trade, and travel long before historians had previously believed possible. Unlike the mythic description of a sudden, dramatic sinking, geological evidence suggests a more gradual process. It appears the city was slowly inundated by rising sea levels over centuries, a victim of the same post-glacial changes that affected coastlines worldwide. This slow submergence actually helped preserve the structures, burying them in sediment and protecting them from the full force of the ocean. The discovery of Dwarka is monumental because it blurs the line between myth and history. It suggests that the grand stories passed down for millennia in texts like the Mahabharata may not be pure fiction, but could instead be poetic memories of real places and real events, preserved in an oral tradition for over 3,000 years. This underwater city forces a complete reassessment of the timeline of urban development in ancient India, pointing to a highly organized seafaring civilization existing in the Bronze Age. Dwarka stands as a ghostly testament, a place where legend has been given a foundation of stone on the ocean floor, challenging us to listen more carefully to the oldest stories we have. And it is not alone, for the seas hold other sunken worlds, other cities that slipped beneath the water, preserving secrets in their silent, drowned streets. Buried for decades beneath a protective layer of earth in a Scottish field, the Cochno Stone was unearthed once more in 2015. This colossal sandstone slab, first recorded in 1887, had been deliberately reburied in the 1960s to save it from graffiti and damage. What the archaeologists revealed was a 5,000-year-old canvas of breathtaking complexity. Stretching 42 feet long, the stone's surface is a dense tapestry of ancient art, covered in roughly 90 meticulously carved motifs. Spirals swirl into existence, concentric circles ripple outward, and intricate geometric patterns interlock in a silent, stone language. This is one of the most extensive and elaborate examples of Neolithic rock art ever discovered in Europe, a masterpiece whose meaning has been utterly lost to time. The theories about its purpose are as varied as the carvings themselves. Some researchers see a celestial map with the circles and cup-like depressions charting the constellations or recording cosmic events. Others propose it was a territorial marker defining the sacred land of a powerful clan. Perhaps it was a focal point for rituals, a place where the spiritual energy of the world was believed to converge. The stone's very placement lends weight to the astronomical theory, as its alignment corresponds with the movements of the sun, potentially marking the solstices. Recent advances in technology are finally offering new glimpses into this ancient puzzle. Using high-resolution 3D scanning, researchers have created a digital skin of the entire stone. This process has revealed faint carvings and subtle patterns that are invisible to the naked eye, details eroded by 5 millennia of Scottish weather. These new, hidden lines may hold the key to deciphering the stone's message, exposing a deeper layer of symbolic communication we are only beginning to perceive. What is perhaps most profound is that the Cochno Stone is not an isolated mystery. The same spiral and circle motifs appear on stones and in passage tombs scattered across Britain and Ireland, from Newgrange to the tombs of Orkney. This suggests a shared symbolic language, a system of beliefs and knowledge that was understood across vast distances by disparate Neolithic communities. The Cochno Stone challenges the very image of prehistoric people as simple farmers. It points instead to a society with a sophisticated intellectual life, capable of abstract thought, complex astronomical observation, and artistic expression on a monumental scale. It forces us to wonder what other profound ideas are encoded in the stones beneath our feet, waiting for the right technology or the right perspective to finally make them speak. In 1992, a group of farmers in Zhejiang Province, China, decided to pump the water out of a series of local ponds, hoping to find the bottom. They did not find mud, they found a ceiling. As the water level dropped, they revealed an entrance into a vast, dark, and utterly silent subterranean world. This was the first glimpse of the Longyou Caves, a discovery that would reveal one of the most staggering engineering projects of the ancient world. What they had stumbled upon was not a natural cavern, but a colossal, hand-carved complex of 24 individual caves, each an architectural marvel. The sheer scale is almost impossible to process. The entire complex spans an area of approximately 30,000 square meters, with soaring ceilings that reach up to 30 meters high, creating cathedral-like underground spaces. Every surface, from the walls to the immense ceilings, is covered in meticulously carved parallel chisel marks, a uniform pattern of tool strokes that runs across every cave with machine-like consistency. The design elements are deliberate and sophisticated. Massive rock pillars are positioned at regular intervals to support the unimaginable weight above. Intricately carved bridges span across pools, and a complex network of drainage channels shows a deep understanding of hydrology, ensuring the caves remain dry despite being initially submerged. The precision is humbling. The angles of the walls are identical from one cavern to the next, the slopes of the ceilings perfectly matched. This was not a haphazard excavation. It was a master-planned, large-scale engineering project executed with a unified vision. Yet for all its grandeur, the Longyou Caves are a historical ghost. No scroll, no imperial record, no local folklore even hints at their construction. The estimated dates, based on mineral deposits, place their creation somewhere between 200 years before the Common Era and 200 years after, a period well documented in Chinese history. How could a project of this magnitude simply vanish from human memory? The logistics alone are staggering. Archaeologists calculate that to create these caverns, the builders would have had to remove approximately 1 million cubic meters of solid sandstone. That is a volume of stone that would fill over 200 Olympic-sized swimming pools. The labor involved is almost beyond comprehension, requiring the coordinated effort of thousands of workers for generations. And then, upon completion, they left nothing behind. The caves are eerily sterile, devoid of any tools, pottery, artwork, or everyday artifacts. It is as if the workforce finished its monumental task, swept the floors clean, and walked out, leaving the empty halls to be forgotten and flooded. Why would any civilization invest such immense resources into a project with no apparent practical use? Were these imperial tombs that were never used? A secret quarry for some unknown purpose, a subterranean sanctuary for a lost religion. The silence of the caves offers no answers, only the echo of our own questions. The Longyou Caves force us to confront a profound gap in our historical knowledge. They stand as a monument not to a known emperor or a recorded dynasty, but to the anonymous, organized power of a people whose greatest achievement was rendered invisible both by water and by time. This ambition to reshape the very bones of the earth, for reasons we can no longer decipher, connects to another civilization that moved mountains of stone to honor their dead. Deep in a Neolithic burial mound in Tartaria, Romania, a discovery in 1961 threatened to upend the entire history of human communication. Archaeologist Nicolae Vlasa was excavating a grave site when he uncovered 3 small, unassuming clay tablets. At first glance, they seemed like simple artifacts, but upon closer inspection, they revealed a series of deeply incised symbols. These were not random scratches. The markings bore a startling resemblance to a known form of writing, but from a place and time that made no sense. They looked eerily similar to Sumerian cuneiform, the writing system of ancient Mesopotamia. The problem was the date. Carbon dating of the associated remains placed these Tartaria tablets at approximately 5,300 years before the Common Era. That is nearly 2,000 years older than the earliest known Sumerian writing. This single finding sent a tremor through the archaeological world, suggesting that the cradle of writing might not have been in the Middle East, but in the forests of southeastern Europe. The symbols on the tablets also share a connection with the Vinca culture, a Neolithic society known for similar markings on pottery and figurines found across the region. This broader pattern suggests a symbolic system that was widespread, but were these marks true writing? The debate is fierce and unresolved. True writing represents spoken language, a system where symbols correspond to specific words or syllables, allowing for the full expression of human thought. Proto-writing, on the other hand, uses symbols to convey ideas directly, like ownership marks or ritual instructions, without constituting a full language. The Tartaria tablets sit right on this razor's edge. Some researchers argue the symbols are merely a form of advanced proto-writing, perhaps denoting a clan's ownership or serving as a ceremonial token placed with the dead. Others see the deliberate, complex arrangement of signs as evidence of a true, albeit lost, script. The context of their discovery adds to the mystery. They were found alongside human bones and other grave goods, indicating they held significant ritual importance. Whoever was buried with these tablets was someone of status, and the objects were clearly meant to accompany them into the afterlife, a powerful message we can no longer read. If the tablets do represent a full writing system, the implications are revolutionary. It would mean that a sophisticated, literate culture was flourishing in the Balkans while much of the world was still in the Stone Age. This would completely rewrite the narrative of cultural development, suggesting that the spark of literacy ignited independently and far earlier in Europe than anyone had previously believed. The ongoing debate over the Tartaria Tablets is a perfect example of how our understanding of the past is not set in stone. It evolves with each new discovery and each fresh perspective. These three small pieces of fired clay challenge a foundational pillar of history, forcing us to wonder how many other silent, symbolic systems from the deep past are waiting to be recognized as the first whispers of written language. The clear waters off Yonaguni Island hide a secret that has divided experts for decades. In 1986, a local dive tour operator named Kirkairo Aratek was exploring a new area for his clients when he saw something that defied belief. Looming out of the deep was not a coral reef or a rock formation, but what appeared to be a massive, sunken pyramid. This is the Yonaguni Monument, a colossal structure stretching approximately 150 meters long and 40 meters wide, resting at depths between 5 and 30 meters. Its surfaces are a maze of startlingly sharp, right-angled edges. There are what look like vast, flat terraces, perfect staircases rising at consistent 90-degree angles, and narrow passageways that cut straight through the stone. One particularly compelling feature is a deep, triangular-shaped pool that seems too geometrically perfect to be an accident of nature. For marine geologist Robert Schoch, these features are exactly that, natural accidents. He argues that the monument is made of sandstone, a rock that naturally fractures along flat plains due to tectonic forces in the region. The seemingly perfect angles and steps, he suggests, are simply the result of this natural shearing and erosion from ocean currents over millennia. To him, Yonaguni is a spectacular example of Mother Nature's own architecture, but other researchers, like Japanese marine geologist Masaaki Kimura, see a human hand at work. Kimura has spent years studying the site and points to features that he argues nature could not produce alone. He identifies what appear to be carved channels, ceremonial gates, and even rock-carved representations of animals, including a stone that strongly resembles a human face. These elements, he insists, are clear evidence of intelligent design and modification. The debate hinges on this fundamental question: is it a natural wonder that looks artificial, or an artificial wonder that nature has begun to reclaim? The potential timeline is what makes this mystery so profound. If human hands did carve this structure, they could only have done so when it was above water. During the last ice age, sea levels were significantly lower. For Yonaguni to have been dry land, its construction would have to date back at least 8,000 and possibly as much as 10,000 years. This timeline is staggering. It would place the monument's creation in a prehistoric era, long before the rise of the first recognized civilizations in Mesopotamia and Egypt, and in a part of the world not known for such advanced stoneworking capabilities at that time. Who could have built it, and what catastrophic rise in sea levels eventually forced them to abandon it to the waves? The discovery of other, similar submerged formations in the same region only deepens the intrigue, suggesting Yonaguni may not be an isolated anomaly, but part of a larger, drowned landscape. This sunken enigma forces us to confront the power of a changing climate and the fragility of human memory. It challenges the very map of prehistoric human achievement, hinting that entire chapters of our past may be submerged, not in myth, but in the rising waters of a forgotten world. A single silver coin found in the soil of Maine quietly upends the story of who first reached the Americas. In 1957, amateur archaeologist Guy Melgren was excavating the Goddard site. a known Native American trading center on the coast of Maine, when his trowel uncovered something entirely unexpected. It was a small, worn silver coin. Initially puzzling, it was later identified with stunning clarity, a Norwegian penny minted during the reign of King Olaf Kyrre, who ruled from 1067 to 1093 of the Common Era. This is the Maine Penny, and it remains the only pre-Columbian Norse artifact ever found in the United States outside of the confirmed Viking settlement at Elance Orks Meadows in Newfoundland. Metallurgical analysis leaves no doubt the coin is genuine and of ancient Norse origin, but how did it travel over 1,000 miles to end up in a prehistoric Native American shell midden? This is the heart of the controversy. The Goddard site was not a Viking camp, it was a major hub for indigenous trade networks, a place where artifacts from distant cultures have been found. The coin was nestled amongst stone tools and pottery that were unmistakably of local origin. So did a Norse explorer himself drop it there, evidence of a voyage far south of their known settlements in Newfoundland? Or was it passed from hand to hand over generations, traveling south through indigenous trade routes that stretched for thousands of miles? A single piece of Norse silver that slowly made its way from a remote northern outpost into the heart of Wabanaki territory. This second, less dramatic possibility is favored by many mainstream archaeologists, who see it as a fascinating example of how objects can travel farther than the people who made them. Yet the first possibility refuses to die. It hints at forgotten Norse voyages down the coast, at brief, unrecorded encounters between Scandinavians and Native Americans that left no other trace. This tiny piece of silver forces us to confront the gaps in our historical maps. It challenges the neat, isolated narrative of the pre-Columbian world, suggesting that connections, however faint, may have spanned the Atlantic long before Columbus. The Maine Penny is a whisper of a much larger, untold story of exploration and cultural exchange, a story written not in sagas, but in a single, silent coin. While the Voynich Manuscript represents a mystery of the mind, another discovery from the ancient world hints at a mystery of pure physical science. In 1936, inside the dusty storage rooms of the Baghdad Museum, a German archaeologist named Wilhelm Koenig made a peculiar find. He was studying a collection of rather simple-looking artifacts that had been excavated years earlier, unassuming terracotta pots about the size of a man's fist. But their contents were anything but ordinary. Inside each clay jar, a carefully rolled copper cylinder was sealed with asphalt, and within that cylinder sat an iron rod. Koenig looked at this assembly and proposed a radical theory. He believed these objects were not ritual vessels or simple storage containers, but primitive batteries. Dating from the Parthian or Sasanian period, somewhere between 250 years before the Common Era and 650 years after, these artifacts now bear a deceptively simple name, the Baghdad Battery. The principle is straightforward, yet its implications are profound. If the jar was filled with an acidic electrolyte, something as common as vinegar or grape wine, a chemical reaction would occur. The acidic liquid would act as an electrolyte, enabling a flow of electrons between the iron rod and the copper cylinder. This creates a galvanic cell, capable of producing a small but measurable electrical charge, estimated at around 1.5 to 2 volts. Decades after Koenig's theory, a researcher named Willard Gray actually built replicas based on the ancient design. He filled them with an electrolyte, connected them to a voltmeter, and confirmed the devices worked. They generated electricity. This confirmation sparks a difficult and fascinating question. What was the purpose of this ancient electricity? The voltage is too low for practical lighting or power, but it has several compelling applications. One leading theory suggests it could have been used for electroplating, the process of depositing a thin layer of one metal onto another. A skilled artisan could have used the current to gild a silver object with a layer of gold, creating beautiful and valuable jewelry. Other possibilities include its use in medical therapy, where the mild tingling sensation was seen as having healing properties, or even in religious ceremonies, where a priest could use the mysterious invisible force to create a sense of awe and divine power. The existence of the Baghdad Battery fundamentally challenges the established timeline of electrical discovery. For centuries, the official history of electricity began with figures like Alessandro Volta and his voltaic pile in the early 1800s. Yet here is tangible evidence that a basic understanding of electrochemistry may have existed in Mesopotamia centuries, even a millennium earlier. This single artifact forces us to reconsider the technological landscape of the ancient world. It suggests that the spark of scientific discovery was struck more than once in human history, and that sometimes that spark was tragically extinguished. If something as fundamental as a battery could be invented, used, and then forgotten for over 1,000 years, what other principles of physics and chemistry were once understood, only to be lost in the sands of time? The hills of Bosnia became the center of an archaeological firestorm in 2004. An amateur researcher named Semir Osmanagic announced a discovery that would capture global headlines. He claimed to have found a complex of ancient, man-made stone spheres buried near the town of Zavodovosai. These were not small stones, but colossal orbs, some reaching several meters across, with the largest rumored to weigh more than 30 tons. Osmanagic declared them the world's oldest human-made spheres, suggesting they were the work of a lost, advanced civilization, and even posited they possessed energy-generating properties. The idea was intoxicating, a narrative of a forgotten, powerful past for the region, and the spheres quickly became a source of local pride and international fascination. They were so perfectly round, so imposing, that it was difficult to believe nature alone could have created them. The global media eagerly amplified the story, but the scientific community responded with deep skepticism. Geologists like Curtis Runnels stepped in to provide a different, more grounded explanation. They identified the spheres as natural formations known as concretions. This process occurs when mineral cement, like calcite, precipitates from water and accumulates within the spaces of sedimentary rock. Over immense periods, this cement can harden into a mass that is often more resistant to erosion than the surrounding stone. As the softer outer rock wears away, these incredibly hard spherical cores are left exposed. This is a well-documented geological phenomenon, and the region's rock composition perfectly supports this natural origin. The controversy became a classic case of the clash between a compelling narrative and rigorous scientific analysis. It underscores a vital lesson for all archaeological mysteries: the necessity of cross-disciplinary verification. The human eye is wired to see patterns and intention, especially in shapes as fundamental as a sphere. We want to see the hand of our ancestors in the landscape. Yet science must act as a necessary filter, separating genuine human achievement from the magnificent artistry of natural processes. Despite their likely natural origin, the Bosnian spheres have taken on a life of their own in local culture. They are woven into modern legends attributed to ancient giants or mystical powers, demonstrating how an object's cultural significance can become just as real as its geological history. This case prepares us to look more critically at the next discovery, a place where the line between a natural wonder and an impossible human creation is even more hotly debated. Thousands of stones began surfacing in Peru during the 1960s, each one etched with images that defied logic. A local farmer named Basilio Ushuaia became the center of this storm, claiming to have found a vast collection of ancient carved andesite rocks in a riverbed. The Ica Stones, as they became known, ranged from the size of a baseball to massive boulders, and their carvings depicted a world turned upside down. Humans were shown living alongside dinosaurs, some in conflict, others in what appeared to be domestic scenes. Other stones illustrated complex medical procedures, including detailed heart surgery and cesarean sections, while still others showed maps of continents that do not match any known geography and astronomical charts with celestial bodies unknown to ancient cultures. These were not just anomalous artifacts, they were a direct challenge to every established timeline of life on Earth. The public and some researchers were captivated, seeing in these stones proof of a lost, advanced civilization or even evidence that humans had walked the Earth in the Age of Giants. The excitement, however, was short-lived. Under pressure, Basilio Asciuga eventually confessed. He admitted to carving the stones himself using a dentist's drill, aging them by baking them in cow dung, and then rubbing them with shoe polish to give them an ancient patina. He explained that he created them as souvenirs to sell to tourists, capitalizing on the local legends and the human thirst for mystery. His confession seemed to slam the door shut on the Ica Stones as a genuine archaeological puzzle. Yet the story did not end there. The sheer volume of the stones, estimated in the tens of thousands, and the variation in their craftsmanship left room for lingering doubt. Some stones showed clear, sharp grooves from modern metal tools, perfectly aligning with Asciuga's confession. But others displayed a different kind of wear, with edges softened by what appeared to be genuine, long-term erosion, and their carvings were covered in a dark, oxidized varnish that experts argued would take centuries to form naturally. Could it be that Asciuga, to protect his lucrative secret and avoid prosecution for selling national heritage, confessed to forging everything, while a small number of the stones were actually authentic ancient artifacts he had discovered and used as inspiration? This enduring controversy makes the Ica Stones a perfect case study in the complexities of modern archaeology. They teach a crucial lesson about provenance, the documented history of an object from its moment of discovery. Without a clear and verified provenance, even the most spectacular find becomes suspect. The story also highlights a powerful psychological truth. Our deep desire for revolutionary discoveries can sometimes overwhelm our scientific skepticism, making us willing to believe in the impossible. The Ica Stones stand as a permanent warning, a reminder that the line between a world-changing artifact and an elaborate hoax can be terrifyingly thin. This challenge of authentication leads us directly to another artifact, one whose mysterious material and purpose have sparked debates just as intense, but with a physical substance that seems to defy the very technology of its time. When Spanish conquistadors first laid eyes on the fortress of Sacsayhuamán above Cusco, they struggled to comprehend the reality before them. They wrote of colossal walls built by giants or demons, so perfect was the stonework that no human hand could have possibly achieved it. This was not mere hyperbole. The ceremonial complex constructed by the Inca Empire in the 15th century remains one of the most formidable architectural achievements of the ancient world. Its walls are composed of enormous limestone boulders, some weighing as much as 200 tons, each one cut and fitted to its neighbors with a precision that defies logic. The joints between these megalithic stones are so seamless that you cannot slide a single piece of paper between them. There is no mortar holding this puzzle together, only the sheer genius of its engineering and the immense weight of the stones themselves, locking them in place for centuries. How did the Inca accomplish this without iron tools, without the wheel, without any of the technologies we consider essential for such a task? The prevailing theory involves a painstaking process of trial and error. Artisans likely used harder stones to pound the limestone blocks into shape, slowly grinding the surfaces against each other using sand and water as an abrasive until the fit was perfect. Some researchers have proposed more radical ideas, suggesting the Incas might have discovered a plant-based chemical agent that could temporarily soften the stone surface, making it malleable enough to shape. Yet, even if we understand the basic shaping method, the transportation of these megaliths remains a breathtaking mystery. The quarries were miles away across rugged mountain terrain. Without wheels or draft animals, the Inca relied on human power alone. Imagine hundreds of workers, coordinated with ropes and log rollers, inching these 200-ton behemoths up and down steep slopes, using earthen ramps to position them. This was not brute force, it was a symphony of organized labor and profound engineering intuition. The result is a structure that has proven more resilient than the buildings of its conquerors. While Spanish colonial structures in Cusco have been damaged and destroyed by powerful earthquakes, the walls of Sacsayhuamán have stood unshaken. The irregular, polygonal shapes of the stones allow the entire structure to dance and settle during a tremor rather than cracking apart. This is earthquake-proof architecture perfected half a millennium ago. The fortress challenges our most basic assumptions about pre-Columbian technology, forcing us to recognize a sophisticated understanding of physics, material science, and logistics that rivals any ancient civilization. The silent, enduring perfection of Sacsayhuamán's walls compels us to ask what other construction secrets were mastered by ancient cultures, only to be lost in the upheaval of conquest and time. Deep within the Hathor Temple at Dendera, a set of enigmatic stone reliefs has sparked a debate that cuts to the heart of how we see the ancient world. Discovered by European explorers in the early 19th century, these intricate carvings from the Ptolemaic period, created around 50 years before the Common Era, show figures standing beside large, bulb-shaped objects. Inside each of these strange vessels rests a snake, stretching the full length of the enclosure, its head pointed toward one end. To some, this image is uncannily familiar, resembling a giant light bulb with a glowing filament. These observers propose that the snake represents the filament, the bulb is a glass enclosure, and the figures are priests or engineers operating an ancient electrical device, perhaps even a Crookes tube, a type of early electrical light. The temple's isolated, subterranean chambers, they argue, would have required some form of artificial illumination for the elaborate carvings within, and this, they suggest, was the source. Mainstream Egyptology offers a very different and contextually rich interpretation. Scholars point out that these reliefs are part of a coherent mythological narrative covering the temple walls. The bulb-like object is identified as a lotus flower, a potent symbol of creation in Egyptian belief. The snake emerging from it is a representation of the sun god, born from the primordial waters each dawn. The entire scene is a cosmological diagram illustrating the moment of creation itself, not a technical schematic. The figures surrounding it are deities, not technicians, and the so-called cable leading to a box is actually a jed pillar, a symbol of stability, connected to the lotus by a serpent of divinity. This profound disconnect in interpretation highlights a critical challenge in archaeology: the tendency to view the past through the lens of our own technological present. We see what looks like a light bulb because that is a familiar object in our world, but to the ancient Egyptians, the familiar object was the lotus flower, teeming with spiritual meaning. The Dendera reliefs teach us that without a deep understanding of the cultural and symbolic framework, we risk misreading poetic metaphor as literal instruction. This case forces us to question not the capabilities of the ancients, but the limitations of our own perspective. How many other ancient symbols have we misinterpreted because we searched for our own reflection in the stone, instead of listening for the story it was meant to tell? This challenge of seeing the past on its own terms leads us to our final, and perhaps most perplexing, discoveries. In the rugged highlands of Laos, a French archaeologist named Madeleine Colony began a systematic study in the 1930s that would document one of Southeast Asia's most haunting archaeological landscapes. She walked across the Xiang Quang Plateau, a place littered with thousands of colossal stone jars. These are not ordinary containers. Scattered across nearly 100 sites, the jars stand between 1 and 3 meters tall, each one carved with immense effort from solid sandstone and other local rock, some weighing several tons. They are silent, weathered sentinels, their open mouths seeming to ask a question we still cannot answer. The scale is almost overwhelming, with thousands of these megaliths dotting the terrain, a project of staggering ambition from a culture that history has forgotten. Recent scientific dating places their creation in a broad window between 500 years before the Common Era and 500 years after, pointing to an unknown Iron Age society with the resources and will to reshape this entire plateau. The mystery only deepened with modern excavations, which have uncovered companion artifacts carefully buried beside the jars, including intricately made ceramic pots, delicate glass beads, and iron tools, suggesting these were not isolated monuments but part of a complex ceremonial site. The most persistent theory, one that Colony herself championed, is that the jars served as funeral urns. Some excavations have indeed uncovered human remains, both inside the jars and in buried pits nearby, pointing to practices of excarnation, where bodies were placed in the jars to decompose before the bones were collected for a final burial. This would make the plain a vast city of the dead, a sacred landscape for processing the departed. Yet this interpretation is challenged by the jars' bewildering geography. Why place these immensely heavy funerary vessels across such a vast and remote mountainous area, often far from any obvious settlement? The sheer logistical effort to carve and position them in such difficult terrain suggests a purpose that went beyond simple burial. Their placement along what were likely ancient trade routes hints at another possibility. Perhaps these were not just tombs but ceremonial waypoints, places where traveling merchants participated in rituals to ensure safe passage or to honor ancestral spirits guarding the commercial path. The labor investment speaks of a society that attached supreme importance to this practice, a cultural imperative so strong it compelled generations to haul multi-ton stone jars up hillsides and across valleys. For decades, the full truth of the Plain of Jars was locked away, not by jungle, but by the tragic legacy of modern conflict. The region became one of the most heavily bombed places on Earth during the Vietnam War, littered with unexploded ordnance that made archaeological work impossibly dangerous. It is a stark irony that a place dedicated to ancient rites of death became a killing field centuries later. Only recently, through painstaking efforts led by UNESCO to clear these deadly remnants, have archaeologists been able to return and investigate the sites systematically. This new access is finally allowing science to catch up with the mystery, using ground-penetrating radar and careful excavation to look for patterns in the jars' arrangement and their relationship to the surrounding landscape. The Plain of Jars fundamentally challenges the narrative of Southeast Asian prehistory. It forces us to acknowledge a sophisticated, organized culture with a complex spiritual worldview, one capable of a coordinated, large-scale project that transformed an entire region. This enigmatic plain, with its silent stone chorus, introduces us to the final, most profound discoveries that are reshaping everything we thought we knew about the ancient world. The sun-bleached limestone of Malta is etched with a puzzle that has defied explanation for centuries. crisscrossing the islands, particularly at a place called Misra-Gar-il-Kay Bur, is an immense network of parallel grooves cut deep into the bedrock. These are the cart ruts of Malta, a sprawling system of channels averaging about 8 to 15 centimeters deep, forming complex intersections, merging lanes, and even what look like ancient turning circles. First studied systematically in the early 20th century, these ruts cover vast areas like the ghost of a transportation grid from a forgotten age. Their creation is tentatively placed between the Bronze Age and the Phoenician period, but their true purpose remains one of the Mediterranean's most stubborn mysteries. Were they tracks for sled-like vehicles hauling massive stone blocks or agricultural produce? The organized patterns with clear junctions and terminals suggest a sophisticated, planned system for moving goods. Yet other theories propose they were part of an elaborate irrigation network, channeling precious water across the arid landscape. The mystery takes an even stranger turn at the coastline, where some of these deep-cut ruts run straight off cliffs, plunging directly into the Mediterranean Sea. This bizarre feature suggests they were created when sea levels were significantly lower, carving paths that are now drowned, a silent testament to a changing world. The local limestone is soft enough to have been worked with primitive tools, but this only makes the scale of the endeavor more puzzling. Why would a civilization invest such immense, coordinated labor to carve these intricate and extensive pathways? The cart ruts of Malta challenge every conventional idea about ancient land use. They speak of a society with advanced engineering and logistical planning, a people whose daily life and economy were built around a system we can no longer fully comprehend. This enigmatic landscape, a stone canvas of unanswered questions, perfectly sets the stage for our 25th and final discovery, an artifact that may represent the ultimate challenge to our historical timeline. A single claim in 2005 ignited a firestorm that would engulf the world of archaeology. Amateur researcher Semir Osmanagic stood before a series of perfectly shaped hills in the town of Visoko, Bosnia, and declared they were not hills at all. He proclaimed them to be the world's oldest and largest human-made pyramids, a complex deliberately hidden by nature and time. The central formation, which he named the Pyramid of the Sun, was said to rise 220 meters, a height that would dwarf the Great Pyramid of Giza. The public imagination was instantly captured, envisioning a lost civilization with capabilities that rewrote human history. Osmanagic and his team pointed to what they called evidence of concrete blocks, a network of mysterious underground tunnels, and even strange energy phenomena detected at the site. The narrative was powerful and intoxicating, promising to place Bosnia at the very center of the ancient world. Yet, the scientific community responded with a wave of uniform and forceful skepticism. Geologists from across Europe conducted their own surveys, presenting a very different picture. They demonstrated that the hills were entirely natural formations, classic examples of flat-topped mesas composed of layered sedimentary rock, shaped over millions of years by perfectly normal erosion patterns. The so-called concrete blocks were analyzed and found to be natural conglomerate, a type of sedimentary rock where smaller stones are naturally cemented together. Excavations funded by the Pyramid Project did uncover artifacts, but they told a different story, revealing medieval and Roman remains that confirmed the area was a historic settlement, but provided no evidence whatsoever of a pyramid building culture. The controversy became a textbook case of the clash between alternative history and established scientific methodology. It illustrates how a compelling narrative can capture the global imagination, fueled by a deep human desire for revolutionary discoveries, even in the face of overwhelming contradictory evidence from geologists and archaeologists. The Bosnian pyramid story provides a crucial final lesson in our journey. It underscores that extraordinary claims require not just enthusiasm, but extraordinary evidence that can withstand the rigorous scrutiny of peer review. This commitment to evidence-based interpretation, however challenging or disappointing it may sometimes be, is the very foundation that allows us to separate genuine world-changing discoveries from the magnificent but natural artistry of the Earth itself. Looking back across these 25 discoveries, a breathtaking tapestry of human history begins to emerge, one far richer and more mysterious than any textbook ever described. These are not isolated curiosities, they are connected threads, revealing profound patterns that force us to rewrite our entire understanding of the past. Geographically, they span the entire globe, from the highlands of Peru to the plains of Turkey, from the islands of the Pacific to the jungles of Costa Rica. This global distribution shatters the old idea that advanced civilization was born in a single cradle and slowly spread outward. Instead, it suggests that the spark of ingenuity and the drive for the monumental ignited independently, again and again, in the most unexpected corners of the world. The timeline is equally disruptive. We see the 2,000-year-old Antikythera Mechanism, a device of clockwork complexity that would not be matched for a millennium. We find Göbekli Tepe, a temple complex built by hunter-gatherers long before farming villages. This is not a simple upward slope of progress. It is a story of brilliant flashes of knowledge gained, lost, and sometimes rediscovered centuries later. What does this tell us about the fragility of our own technological civilization? Could our greatest achievements also be forgotten, buried by the sands of time? The recurring themes are impossible to ignore. A fascination with the stars unites the builders of the Nazca Lines, the designers of the Antikythera Mechanism, and the creators of the stone spheres of Costa Rica. A drive to move mountains of stone to reshape the very earth connects the Moai of Easter Island to the walls of Sacsayhuamán and the Longyou Caves. This points to shared human preoccupations, a universal yearning to understand our place in the cosmos and leave a permanent mark on the world. These discoveries collectively dismantle the Eurocentric view of history that once dominated our thinking. They reveal that sophisticated astronomy, engineering, and social organization flourished in the Americas, Africa, and Asia, often paralleling or even predating developments in Europe. The methodological lessons are just as crucial. Unraveling these mysteries required more than just a trowel. It took marine archaeologists to find Dwarka, geologists to analyze the Bosnian spheres, and astrophysicists to decode the celestial alignments of ancient temples. The true story of our past can only be told through this collaborative, interdisciplinary lens. When we step back and view these 25 discoveries as a whole, we are left with a humbling and exhilarating realization. Human history is not a straight line, but a vast, interconnected web of innovation, collapse, and rediscovery. It is a story filled with silent questions carved in stone, with technologies that defy their time, and with civilizations whose names we may never know. This collective evidence does not just challenge a few historical facts. It invites us into a grander, more wondrous, and ultimately more mysterious human story. Our journey through these 25 paradigm-shifting discoveries reveals a world far more complex and mysterious than any textbook could contain. From the astronomical genius of the Antikythera Mechanism to the monumental ambition of Göbekli Tepe, these are not random anomalies. They are connected pieces of a grander puzzle, collectively dismantling the comfortable, linear narrative of human progress. We have been taught that history is a simple march from primitive to advanced, but this tapestry of evidence tells a different story. It is a story of brilliant flashes of innovation, profound losses of knowledge, and astonishing rediscoveries. History is not a straight line, but a vast, interconnected web of human ingenuity. The archaeologist Louis Binford captured this perfectly when he noted that the past is never dead. It is not even past. These silent stones and corroded gears are not relics of a finished story. They are active participants in an ongoing conversation about who we are and where we come from. They force us to confront the fragility of our own civilization and the enduring power of the human spirit to reach for the stars, to move mountains, and to encode its deepest mysteries in stone, metal, and clay. This ongoing research guarantees that more revelations await, each one poised to further transform our understanding of antiquity. We encourage you to continue this exploration, to visit museums, to read the latest archaeological reports, and to perhaps even contribute to citizen science projects that help unravel these ancient enigmas. We would love to hear which of these discoveries most profoundly challenged your own perceptions. Share your thoughts in the comments below and subscribe for more journeys into history's greatest mysteries. Our exploration of antiquity's deepest secrets has only just begun. The artifacts and ruins we have explored are not endpoints, but gateways. This journey into archaeology's greatest enigmas represents only the beginning of a potential to completely rewrite our human story, and your own path of discovery can continue far beyond this video. Imagine standing before the actual Antikythera Mechanism in the National Archaeological Museum in Athens, witnessing its corroded gears that calculated the cosmos. Or viewing replicas of the enigmatic Baghdad Battery, contemplating the ancient spark of electricity it once held. These institutions are not just warehouses for objects, they are portals to lost worlds, and visiting them makes the mysteries tangible. For those who wish to dig deeper, a wealth of knowledge awaits in academic journals and publications. Online platforms like JSTOR and Academia Edu provide unprecedented public access to the very research papers where these discoveries are first debated and analyzed by experts. You can read the original reports on Göbekli Tepe's staggering timeline or the latest theories on the Longyou Caves construction. To explore diverse viewpoints, consider books that challenge conventional narratives, such as Graham Hancock's Fingerprints of the Gods, while Brian Fagan's Archaeology. A brief introduction provides a foundational look at the scientific methods used in the field. Your education can continue formally as well, with many universities now offering online courses in archaeology and ancient history, allowing you to understand how these puzzling finds fit into the grand, interconnected tapestry of our past. Stay connected to the pulse of discovery by following the social media channels of archaeological organizations and ongoing excavations. Witness new finds as they happen. And if you feel a passion for this work, consider supporting legitimate research through donations or by participating in citizen science projects, where you can help classify artifacts or analyze satellite imagery from your own home. Your active engagement does more than satisfy curiosity. It helps preserve our fragile, shared human heritage and supports the dedicated researchers uncovering our collective secrets. We invite you to join our growing community of history enthusiasts. Subscribe to this channel for more journeys into the unknown. And if this exploration changed your perspective, let us know by liking this video. Most importantly, we want to hear from you. Which of these 25 discoveries most fundamentally altered your view of antiquity? Share your thoughts, your questions, and your own favorite mysteries in the comments below. The conversation